My dear friends, some tzedakah and a little thought. We're all in awe, admiring, to the point that God admired Avraham Avinu, when he was willing to sacrifice his own son. And God said this was the ultimate test, and now you have proven that you are truly God-fearing. But it seems like from the parsha of this week that we're all called to sacrifice ourselves. Where? So let's look in the pasuk. The Torah says, God calls Moshe Rabbeinu and he tells him, Daber al bnei Yisrael, speak to the Jewish people, to the children of Israel. V'amar aleim, and you should say to them, Adam ki yakriv mikem korban lashem. When a man from amongst you brings a sacrifice to God, mina behema, from the animals, mina bakar, mina tzoyin, from cattle and from flock, takrives korbanchem, you should bring your sacrifice. Now the Talmud points out to a very interesting way this message, this godly command is worded. What does it say? Adam, a person, ki yakriv mikem korban Hashem, who will offer from you a sacrifice to God. So the Gemara says, it should have said differently. Adam mikem, a person from amongst you who will bring an offering. What does it mean? A person will bring an offering from amongst you. Says the Gemara, indeed, the pasuk is very specific. The Torah is very specific, because what the Torah says is, God says, I want you to bring a sacrifice of yourself. Easy to bring an animal, easy to bring to give a few dollars, but I want your sacrifice, sacrificing a part of you. That it shouldn't be something you give away, but it should be something that you give of yourself. You give yourself for God. And then the Torah goes and says, how is this happening? Mina behema, from the animal. What means from the animal? In this concept that we have to sacrifice ourselves for God. So the Rebbe explains in his Sikh, and it says there are three stages. There's three steps to the animal sacrifice on the altar. The first thing, before we actually offer the animal, one had to check the animal, that the animal should be in good health. There should be no blemishes. There should be nothing wrong with this animal. It has to be a healthy, grade A+ animal. When we're talking about animal, we all have our own little animal in us, which is called the nefesh habahamis, the animal soul, the vital soul, the vital life. This godly energy within us that allows us, that energizes, that vitalizes us, and gives us life. So this is called the nefesh habahamis, the animal soul, which its interest is all about the mundane, the here and the now, the pleasure, as we call it, le joie de vivre. So the first thing is, before we can bring a sacrifice to God, a korban, before we sacrifice ourselves. And by the way, korban means lekarev, to get close. So before we get closer to God, first thing is we have to check if our little animal has no blemishes. In other words, is it not involved in inappropriate behavior? Is it not focused on the prohibited practices of life? Is it doing what it's supposed to? So that's the first step, making sure that the animal is not blemished. Because if the animal is blemished, we can't get closer to God. We can't offer it. Then comes the second step. The second thing is the shchita and bedika. We have to slaughter the animal. What happens with the slaughtering? We let the blood flow. We're extracting the blood. Blood represents the passion. The animal soul of ours has a passion. What is its passion? having a good time. And everybody has their own specific desires. But it's all about being passionate, about making a lot of money to enjoy, go on good vacation, have great meals, go to good restaurant, etc., etc. You name it, you know it. So we have to transform that passion from the animal department to what? Bring it on the altar, to burn it on the altar. Burning the fire, the original fire on the altar came from heaven. In other words, we have to allow the animal to be consumed in that godly fire. That passion which is usually used, dedicated for animalistic interests, should be consumed with godliness.